Hey everyone, welcome to the BetSports Golf US Open Betting Preview. I am Ryan Noonan, excited to be joined by the director of all things content related here at BetSports, Andy Molitor. Andy, how we feeling? Major championship golf, my friend.
Major week vibes for sure. It is tough. You look at that top of the board, it's like, oh, here's like 30 really good golfers. This is a tricky week.
I'm going to need your guys' help with that. I'm looking forward to unpacking this. My favorite hour of the week. Also joining us, as always, in the spot, your favorite golf tout from the Mayo Media Network, Geoff Feinberg. Geoff, how we feeling?
I'm doing okay.
Okay.
I'm excited for the golf.
How's the leg?
Whatever. The only thing is, Ryan, like, to make progress just comes with like soreness. Like, I have good therapy sessions and it just comes with like, now I'm really sore. So it's just unavoidable soreness, really annoying. Yeah, if I don't have like a spike week, like I know people need that Morikawa spike putter week. If I don't like get my spike week in the next couple, I'm going to be pretty demoralized. But hey, US Open, let's go.
We've made the joke already. I don't know if we made it on air, like the fact that you're a Chargers fan and you've been injured all year. Like that's been said, right? Like by more than one person.
More like I go to therapy dressed like I'm trying to get ready for training camp. That's kind of the only joke that I make. But yeah, I guess that fits. But we also made the joke, I'm replaceable, Andy. I'm like that. Like, I am a replaceable player. I'm not Bosa or Derwin out here that they can't replace when they go down. I'm replaceable.
We'll get you're not, first off, and we'll get there. But yeah, it's US Open up in Ryan's neck of the way, Nape of the Woods, up there in the Northeast. Not far, I guess, not far from the last tour stop for some guys. Across the pond for a handful of guys who played London, but you know what? They get Sundays off. I don't know if that's going to be the theme. If it's again, we won't get deep into LIV because we have so much to talk. But that's something I haven't figured out. Like, are they always going to play Thursday through Saturday, or is it going to be Friday through Sunday sometimes? Because it is nice if you played over in London, you do get that extra day to travel. And yes, it's been a bit of a circus with some of the press conferences, which is fun. Like, again, anyone who's mad about this is like, fuck, people are talking about golf. Like, that's good. So let's go.
That's true.
And,
I've had non-golf people in my life asking me about this, which I do think is probably a good thing. Like, you can be like that. Any news is good news type of vibe. But yeah, I mean, it could not have been a better week, I don't think, for the tour than to have Sunday and the way it did in Canada. With Rory, JT, Finau, with really a marquee matchup. I think those pin placements were very intentional, where they went out and it was kind of a struggle. I think that the Canadian was a nice test, and then birdies all over the board on Sundays that thought it made for great television and awesome to see Rory win and have Rory kind of be the out in front PGA poster boy over the last couple of months, and then to have him kind of win in the LIV week, I thought was pretty cool. How did Canada hold up, Geoff? You proud of your folks?
Yeah, I thought they did a fantastic job. It'll awesome. Be a hard act to follow. It's exciting the fact that Rory is going to be back. He'll be going for the three-peat. And I'm sure they'll bring back another very strong top-heavy field. I just sort of mind quickly goes to how it, correlates to this week. I'm happy for the people that got to bet Rory at 10-1 last week and then got to watch the internet anoint him a US Open champion at 10-1 this week. So congrats to all those folks. I usually do not care. Like, when an elite player wins, I usually think like that's a really good thing. If a guy of that Sepp Straka level wins, you almost kind of want to like discount them if the major is the next week or something of that like guy where like the win is just a totally new world. Like, celebrating the win is just this new. Roy's probably, no, I got a major. Like, I'm not partying. I win all the time. He lets you know how many.
Have some dominoes.
That being said, for like an RBC Canadian Open, I think it's a pretty emotional win for Rory. The simple fact for what he said on the 18th green, where it wasn't like queued up for him and it wasn't like a press conference 20 minutes later where someone gave it. It almost like he went to bed wanting to win and wanting to say that, which shows even Justin Thomas this week. Like, I was up a lot last week. Like, I did not sleep well a lot last week. If you watch his press conference, like, it just seemed like last week, like war on him. And then, so listen, when you're betting a guy 10-1 or 12-1 to win a major championship, you want like the most perfect situation. And I'm not here to debate anything golf wise. Just feels like from an emotional perspective, I think it was like a way heavier week. And I don't think that's like maybe even being acknowledged in the Rory market because there's just for good reason. But yeah, you could tell for both of those guys specifically, but more for Rory. It was a real emotional week, not to say like a dog died and he overcame, but like it was like I'm trying to like make a comp. So it was heavy. Well, we can drop it, but I believe that.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good call out for sure, because I do think that he, like you said, I think, and those two maybe in particular did kind of bear the weight of the tour. They had been more out front than some of the other guys around their decisions to back the tour and to, be a more outspoken. So
it was similar to maybe, it's often just like one player where, hey, he just got married. He just had a kid. He, in Ricky's case, married a crazy person. Or, like there's something going on in a personal life and everybody knows about it. It was kind of like that for, I don't want to say the whole field, but a lot of the guys who are expected to, I hate to use the word carry water, but defend the tour. Like those guys had that big distraction. Rory, principal among them, Rory and JT probably the most, like being a little bit of the old guard with a bunch of success under their belt. Like they had a pretty big distraction weighing on them and they still ended up, the cream rose to the top. And yeah, Sunday was fun. Like just even like Justin Rose just going full nuclear, like 3 bogeys on a 60. Apparently they can set the course up in a few different ways and they set it up for full fun on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
I will like just quickly wrap on Rory to say it is probably the most dangerous sign to everybody. I mean, win, lose, you see these incredible Finau stats that like the deep analytics show he would have won like 94 of the last 100 events with those ball striking stats. Rory would have won like the last 98 of like 100. So, but my point being is pretty the par Rory made on 14 where I drive out of trouble and then you stick it to 4 or 5 feet. Like that is synonymous of what we'll probably be seeing this week, and guys having to come out sideways, getting a little roll off it, and then try to give himself a half decent look from, 120, 140 out to save that par. If Rory's got that shot, it seemed like he was showcasing on Sunday in like God mode. And I know it's US Open, it'll be different, but like that specific shot that was on full display time and again. Oh, that's everyone's freaking problem. But hey, we'll see. I'm betting them at 10-1.
Yeah, the wedge game is probably going to be crucial here. I think scrambling's likely to look a little different, as Jeff's pointing out, because some of these guys are going to have to kind of go sideways, maybe 45-degree angles instead of, taking on the green, because Brookline is a test. I consumed any flyover, any group playing, any videos that I could find on YouTube to get as much of this course, this Gilhance redo that we saw, very similar to Southern Hills, where I think he left a great course behind. And I think he did some great stuff here at the Country Club as well, which has been around forever. They've made these greens bigger. They're still tiny. This rough is going to be a problem. There are a lot of blind shots. You've seen the videos with the rough. You've seen the videos where your tee shot lands in the fairway and then it can run off into the water. I think the back nine is going to be incredible. There are a ton of incredible holes. Rock is going to come into play at some point. Someone's going to hit like a cart path type bounce off of rock outline or croppings, and it's going to go it's going to make for great television. So this is going to be a fun tournament, and I can't wait for it.
Unfortunately, NBC has the rights, so
I know.
Figuring out the television is gonna be. I already complained about that. I won't go on about that. I already complained once this week, but Christ, it's a pain in the ass. Like it's on USA for 2 hours, then it switches back to Peacock. Like
Peacock for an hour. Yeah, it's gross.
But yeah, it's gross. But I'm very excited to watch it. The course, like you said, I watched the flyovers. Course looks awesome. I'm excited to see a lot of how it plays. But yeah, this might be, and it's the U.S. Open. This is often how it goes, where you go look back at the year and you find the toughest round that wasn't, I guess the toughest round we'll see all year was probably at Sawgrass. Like you're just not going to get stuff like that again. But you toss out something like this and you usually end up in a couple of the toughest rounds of the year played at the U.S. Open. They jack a course up like this. And this might be, we've said it a few times. We said about Potomac, oh, this might be super hard. Southern Hills might be super hard. Like they still ended up with some half decent scores. This could be, finally the setup where if they get a little sadistic with some of these pins and you're putting, tucking them away on blind shots anyway, we end up with like a winner at +1. Like I wouldn't mind a real slaughter. What do you call it? Carnage, a real carnage fest. I every once in a while, one of those is good. And yeah, the rough is 6 inches in some spots. I don't know. Like you're just going to not find some balls, and the fairways are narrower than a lot of places. So interesting to see how it plays right away. And I kind of just took all the tough rounds from the year. Again, same kind of thing. I threw out some of that Sawgrass data and I looked at who has played well in the tough rounds. And I think I kind of want your opinion, both of you, on this. I don't know if you can, if you want to say some of these rounds at Augusta played tough, that's fair, but man.
The biggest tournaments this year have all been weather effective. They've all had some really effed up situation. The Players was a cluster. PGA Championship played cold. Masters played cold. So the biggest events of the year have been affected by weather. A tough course on like not a cold day, hypothetically, I think affects a guy like a Cantley or Morikawa less than like a tough course on like a really cold day where they're physically uncomfortable. Like, so, you could a tough course are just like JT, probably the best at like ever, probably best scoring on these when things get crazy. But I don't discount that because it's going to be tough. It's the U.S. Open. Why change anything? Like, keep it simple. Look at like Spieth, Dustin, Brooks, Woodland, outlier. If you thought I was lucky enough to hit that, and then Bryson, Rahm. Like, I'm going to chase the profile, and if I'm wrong, I'm going to chase it again next year until the USGA shows me I got to stop chasing the profile. Like that's as simple as it for me. And I don't disagree. 30 players is probably fine. You feel hard pressed to throw a true long shot. Like for me, I think there's outside of a couple FOMOs in the hundreds, there's kind of like a total missing gap, like between 60 and 100. Like that's like dead. And then above that, I'll bet guys I think have maybe a fighter's chance, a poor man's profile. I'm always a loser for Luke List, who he's just the poorest version of like the really good guys that you're betting at like in the 20s. He's like the poor discount, freaking White Castle version of that shit, But other than like that stuff, it's big boys. But I do think tough conditions, I'll say it again, in tough conditions in like not horrible weather, I think are different than just tough conditions that do require truly exacting golf.
That's a good point. And that was too with the rough, and the rough is going to get brought up a lot. I started to look at that and I realized like some of these, if I'm looking at places that played tough, like how I can't really just say, oh, they really played well at Augusta and that's a tough course. Like Pine Straw is not 6-inch rough. It's a lot, there isn't a really good.
You got to get really unlucky to find trouble. You got to get into the creek or get right behind a tree.
Yeah, water.
All those guys will acknowledge. Like you got to almost get Phoenix unlucky, like under a cactus, to like find real trouble at at Augusta, and we're at a course where, you know, we go to these again, speaking to the profile, well, it's just so safe to just overbet the profile, you know, and be wrong swinging at the profile. We go to these courses, there's such unknowns. No one in our ecosystem, like there's no DFS lineups for the last time we've been there. We haven't been here forever. It's a total introduction for me, and I buy into the hyperbole. Like, I love this shit, Ryan. Like the flyovers, the take you back to the old timey, because I grow up on like a Northeast tree line golf. Like that's my kind of golf. So all these sorts of you know, these aged venues, you know, speak to me. But I buy into all that hyperbole, the time machine that this sort of country club wants you to feel like you're stepping into. The fact that so many of these old clubs, you know, they felt a need to, it's almost like baseball stadiums with these great courses in America, the same trajectory where they're just classically beautiful. And then there was this time where it felt like it needed different and more and domes and concrete, and we had to change them up to be different. And now we're just back to like we've got to restore like their classic beauty. This place hasn't had any.
Analogy. That's a great analogy. That
really
think about
some of the stadiums that were built in like the 80s.
Oh, I live in the city, dude.
I know.
You're talking to the guy that lives in the city that built the last one of them. Imagine being last to that party.
Horrible,
it's
Geoff.
like the last guy to sell your Bitcoin. Okay. No,
I've been to a lot of stadiums. Toronto is.
We have a ashtray beside the lake. Okay, it is a concrete bowl ashtray beside the lake. We built the last concrete bowl in the world. In the goddamn world. 2 years after us, Camden Yards and the New Revolution. We built the last one. We built the last dinosaur.
Yeah, we tore our.
Do you know how it's not? We don't take enough shame for that. Only I like to bring it up. And
I went there in '93. It was hot. It was fresh. You know, it was like
I liked Toronto.
We had McDonald's inside, Ryan. I got to go to the ball game, eat McDonald's. Win 2 World Series. I got nothing but memories in that concrete ashtray. Okay?
I grew up going to Fenway. We had to piss in a trough next to 6 other guys. No. Like, you know,
see the Metrodome had troughs.
Well, we could never be Fenway in the same way. You know, you had Boston Garden, but I got to piss at Maple Leaf Gardens. I know the trough. Okay, I got to walk into that place as a book. Okay, so I got my. Anyhow, I don't know how we got there on a U.S. Open, but we built the last.
Because we've had a pissing contest for the last 2 weeks here.
Well, no, the courses. I thought it was really, you know, the renovations to kind of.
But this one apparently, like, it's never been touched, right? Like they never did what the other ones have had to do. Is like bring it back to what it was. They didn't let any bulldozers ever in here, and it's maintained everything. And I can't wait for the show. Like I can't wait, and I'll just tee it up. I have only bet. There's not a single major winner on my card. There's not a single one. I told my wife last night we got a row of losers, and I'm proud. I'm happy to roll with them. There's still 1 or 2 decisions to make, but it's only between guys who haven't won. So yeah, let the fun begin.
I have a card that I love. It is a bunch of guys that I think fit the profile. They all have not won a major as well. I'm sure there's probably some overlap, but these are guys that I've bet often. They are like almost brand guys, but I do think that they fit the U.S. Open profile. But I also agree, like I want to take a shot, maybe 2, closer to the top of the board, and I really need your guys' help to try to suss that out. So
yeah, I have 6 non-major winners as my. Again, I haven't bet some yet. I will have to travel a little to bet some of these, but so we have probably overlap, but we have a shitload of guys who've never won a major. So we're saying, and Geoff tweeted about it early. Squirrel gonna get, you know, just a squirrel trying to find a nut. Yeah. And there are so many guys that are about to pop out. There's a few that I don't think can win here. Cam Young is a guy I just have avoided this week. I don't
Smith,
think that.
I'm thinking you mean Cam Smith.
I mean both. Honestly, Cam Smith is a guy too. Again,
fucking disrespectful to Cam Young.
I love Cam Young. I'm going to bet him here in matchups. I will not have him on an outright card. Like sure. and at his price. Like if you bet him 2 weeks ago at a big ass number, I'm fine. That's it. Yeah, there was a good job by you grabbing an early bet, but like at his current
what's
pricing,
the big number? I'm curious.
I got a 70. I took a 70 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I thought I was like, I can't. There's no way it could be 100 because a month ago, 5 weeks ago, he wasn't even on certain sites as PGA Championship boards. So you're telling me, okay, 70. Yeah, that's big.
70's nice.
It's honestly not like. I'm not saying it's not big enough. It's just like a shame the books. He was like so off the radar that like he never showed up on like deep future boards with anything, because he could have been picked for like
you could add
another losing bet that would have been sitting in my account. I'm not trying to insult your bet, Ryan. I'm not sad I missed it either.
I'm awesome at picking down the board losers in the Feinberg range. Yeah, second. We did it last week. I messaged Geoff on like Tuesday night, I think, and I was like, man, I can't really decide between Finau and Burns. I went with Finau. I added Burns live before he teed off on Thursday, and then
lost to God Mode Rory, who still missed a couple 4-footers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Finau missed a couple shorties too if you followed his path. So
he did, yeah.
Not like we didn't have those, but it is what it is.
So just to be clear, no one here has bet Rory, Justin, Rahm, Scotty, or Cam Smith.
Correct. Okay, so I have not.
We completely left the top alone.
Yeah, and I say like I made a Rory Rahm double that I put on Twitter on Sunday, so that's like not both fair. Win, but pardon?
You parlayed 2 outrights?
Yeah.
Oh, Rory to win last week.
Rory to win last week with Rahm to win this week. And once Rory wins, I'm like, why didn't I make like a Rory double? Why didn't I make a Rory JT double? I wouldn't have to bet this goddamn tournament. But so that's just like, it was $25. It pays like 6 G's. So it's like Rahm at 250 to 1. I don't even count that as part of the outright card. That's just what we call super exotic that gets to live and float. For me. So I am cheering for Rahm in that respect. If you're asking me who I would bet right now, I would argue like if Scotty's going to keep drifting, is Rahm's going to keep drift, maybe I would take the more points with one of them than the big two. That would just be me, and I'm not actually betting any of them at these numbers this week. But it is nice to see that the golf betting, at least when you look at the big, large sense, like checking an odds checker, like the odds across the board, there's just 4 guys pretty much under 20 to 1. And that's good to see that they finally realized, like, at this moment in time, there's only 4 we can truly separate. And you could argue they've split those into 2 groups of 2, but it's just nice, not like these other ones where we've seen 6 guys or 7 guys like right there. So it's nice, and that's created some opportunity and a chance for me to bet on some losers.
So it's interesting. We FanDuel, friends over at FanDuel, are offering the best numbers on both Scotty and Rahm at 15 to 1, which is unusual. We just don't see 15s on either of those guys in the last, at least 3-4 months with Scotty, but with Rahm in a very long time to see a 15 on Rahm. The interesting piece is, and I, kind of tweeted about this yesterday and talked about it on the show. It's how I approached the Burns thing last week. It worked for our boy PGA Splits at the PGA. Betting a guy that's in the late wave on Thursday before he tees off. So we have both Scotty and JT in the late window of tee times here. Hypothetically, if someone like a Scotty or Rahm were to go out early, or Xander or Rory or any of these other guys and go out and hang a low number like Rory did at Southern Hills, you're going to see better than 10 on, or better than 12 on JT. You're going to see better than 15 on Scotty. How much better? I don't know. But I think that that's an interesting piece too, where if one of those guys goes out and sets the tone, you're probably not getting a worse number, but there's a chance that you get a slightly better number. And that's all the difference in the world to me. So
that is possible, but it could also happen like the Masters, where literally I think the first round ended at a 4 under or something really small, like surprisingly small, at least what you would expect could happen there. and the guys going off late like never could catch that bump because there was just nothing happening with the top. But if you have access to the live betting, I agree. There's no harm in that. And the funny thing about that is you're just saying even if those guys get hot, the live betting respects players in a ways the pre-betting board doesn't. Like right. If Brooks Koepka gets like a bat out of hell in this thing, they'll instantly treat him like he's Brooks Koepka, 4-time major champion from a live odd, not a he's Brooks Koepka, not focused, just got married, has 1 win in 3 years.
Just yelled at the media today.
Yeah, real sourpuss. Told the golf media they should be more positive he's literally letting them know, like, you should be selling the story of me about to go to LIV better, I think is what he was, I think, trying to put out there. But yeah, I totally agree with that, Ryan. And I guess in theory, I'll say, because you made a comment on live betting, I would argue, this is important. You don't even need to bet bombs pre-tournament. Because even if your bomb starts hot and does great, like they almost peak too early. They never hold on. Like even Mito. I know I mean that facetiously. The bombs you should make are the live bombs on either like these stale books that don't move or these excellent players who fall into bomb range because they have started, poorly. It's so weird when I see a guy that I've bet at 150 to 1. And he's like 3 off the lead at 4 under. And he's still like on a consensus amount of books. He's still like 100 to 1, 110 to 1. I'm like, what more? 120 to 1. What more could that guy have done? Like I bet him pre-tourney at 150. What more are you expecting of him up until this point that you still have that number? So part of me is like, almost want to get in this mindset of never bomb, but just bomb in tournament because I see like it's like this guy's playing well, he's playing fine. He was this number before. Like, what did you think I'm not needing him to lead right now. Like he's literally doing everything I needed that bet to do, and that pre-tournament number or close to it is still there. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. I don't mean to. No,
I do. I think last week I had Patrick Rogers at 200, and he got to like he was like top 5 at the end of round 1, and I don't think he ever went below 100 in the live market. So
and I wonder about that too. Like I'll split some money up between some bombs, and I wonder if like last week I took JJ Spawn 135, Alex Smalley 175. One of them went one way, one of them went the other way. Whereas again, like what was Smalley's number after round 1? It was probably 130.
It was like 70 to 1 because I saw Josh Perry like tout that this is a good ad.
And that's where the thing is, like, am I better off taking all the money I split between those two and just saving it for after round 1, having a handful of guys I've identified as here's some bombs I'd like to play well, and if one of them is trending well, just placing twice as much on Smalley at 70 instead of wasting the money on the Spawn bet. So I think there's a case to be made for that.
And you don't want them. And I get it. Like you're almost betting it early because in case he's first round leader, like 1 off the lead, then that 150 is like 20 and you're annoyed. But we say that guy can't hold on. He's not good enough to like hold on. You almost want the guy that just can like tread for 4 days, lurk, play above his pre-bet, and then come crash. Because how many times does the long shot like actually like hang around for the 4 rounds? They don't. I don't like. So, but again, you can't put a price of peace of mind. I like this long shot. You're like be so mad to see him at 20 to 1 after the first round or 25 to 1. But I'm just seeing like these guys. I don't know. I think I've made the case there. I would just repeat myself to say it again. And
I like it. I think it's an interesting because I like it the other way, but I think you make an interesting point too. I think, attacking bombs that are maybe to the top or to the middle of the board once one round of golf is in the books, I think it's interesting. It makes a lot of sense, especially if it was a guy that you would kind of maybe earmarked as a guy you like going into the week. I like it the other way. I like it when it's a guy that I really like that's maybe at the top of the board that I can get that's a little bit longer for really no other reason than just someone else played well to start. And that's kind of what I did it last week with Burns. Burns was 14. I got him at 20 about 45 minutes before he teed off. Right? Nothing had happened with Sam Burns except he just hadn't teed off yet. And then, some other guys went out and got hot. So if I can get Scotty close to 20 or JT down to like 15, like that's a lot more interesting than where they are currently. And they're both, appetizing. Like you said, it's really hard to kind of differentiate with these top 4. And if it's just a couple of points, that's kind of a tiebreaker for me because it's not really hard to make a case for any of these 4 going out and, winning this weekend.
Just because we're talking live betting and in-tournament betting too, I want to bring up, like, this is not a stat I look at, but, it's a stat that you see on the TV, you'll see in the media is like putts, how many putts they hit that round. And it's not something I use, but like, what do you think the average is for putts per round? Like just the average tour golfer on a
28. Yeah, 20.
Yeah, something like that. Like this is the one thing, and I think people were rewarded. And again, I don't want to throw our guy Ron in here because he did this way early, but people bet JT and saying like, oh, his putting has to it has to come around. Like you're going to get positive regression on this putting. And, they were rewarded by that because he did win that tournament that was the case they made for it. It's just like, man, just like 50 putts over 2 days is not a big enough sample size to expect some massive regression. Like he just played better because he has a high ceiling. I think that's one of the worst reasons to make some of these live bets is when you're just like, hey, guess what? He usually does this one thing good, and I think it's going to come around. Sometimes if somebody can't hit their iron that day, it's not just going to fix itself. Something is wrong. They're not seeing the course right. The caddy is maybe doing a shitty job that week because they didn't do the right kind of prep. Like often you don't see guys just turn things around mid-tournament, it feels like, unless somebody has like a crazy high ceiling where, I can win a major today because I'm Justin Thomas, I'm Rory McIlroy. So I don't know, like live betting has gotten tricky and you see a lot more of it lately, but I do hate, and maybe I'm just dead wrong, but I just don't feel like some of this regression stuff is like, oh man, his putting just has to turn around and he's going to win this. You've seen a lot of that with Lowry. A lot of people live bet Lowry last week.
I like Justin Thomas. I hit that bet at the PGA Championship. Mm-hmm. The guy missed like 10-foot putts on 16 and 18. And the fact that tournament ends and he's a generational talent, golf is such a effing trip, boys. Like golf is such a trip. Like that is crazy. Like how quickly, what the conversation we could be having today about those 2 putts and like, do you trust him to hit that putt? Because he didn't hit the putts. But he's gonna get like, I'm not debating JT, like the driver, the play at a treble, like the complete package, elite golfer. They're wins this week. It's almost like expected. I just mean like golf is such a mind expletive like that in terms of, what that did for him, but what he actually didn't do when he needed to do it and somehow didn't matter in the end because the other guys screwed up worse or whatever, golf, love it.
Here we are, like willfully every week, handicapping these and betting a bunch, and it is the best sport in the world to bet on.
What's the longest? I love doing it out of order. I think it screws with Ryan's head. But what's the longest you would actually place a real bet on? The longest, like, are you just saying like it's U.S. Open? There's too many top players. Like, I'll tickle some long shots, especially if you play it somewhere where there's a cash out, or if you're betting on the exchanges and you trade these out or whatever. But like, I kind of had to draw a hard line here. Like, I can't bet guys at 150 to 1, even just for a fun bet. Like, I think, and I'll just like Geoff brought him up. Mito's a guy I back too much. I think he's somewhere between 75, 80, 90 there. Like, even that, I want to, and I'm struggling to get to that point where it's like, can I really bet him against this field? Is that where I'm drawing the line? And yeah, it might be like, realistically, it might be in that 60 range is where I have to draw my line.
60 would probably be that range. If we want to start at the back, other than I said, the only two, like Abe Answer flirting with 100, 90. Like he does have some US Open profile stuff. Like maybe I'll probably do something with him in the prop market. You might even see me put him up in when Ryan asked me for a blurb in a couple days for something. Patrick Reed, if it plays like super cheeky and difficult, if his driver doesn't abandon him. But I agree, Ryan 60 and or Andy 60. And I'll just start off by saying, since we're at the 60, I have him at 80 because the 365 boost. But my exposure to Sung J M this week is probably the largest I've ever had for 60 to like 80 to 1 odds. So yeah, I'm in the range. I'm there, but I invested pretty heavy in Sung J. I think we've been talking about it here for a couple weeks that it kind of might make a lot of sense. Bogey avoidance, really boring player. I think I'm betting on a few boring players, even when you get closer to the top. I think it's a great week for boring players. So yeah, I'm at that 60 point, and then there were Sung J 60s like as of Monday morning. I'm not really sure where they could be now, but 60.
Yeah, that's actually probably my biggest regret of the week so far is I dragged my feet on Sanjay, and then at least in the most of the markets that I have available, the 60s are dried up, and they're 40s and 45. So Sanjay's another guy where he's in the PM wave on Thursday. My hope is to maybe if someone goes out, maybe we get something that's even closer to the 50s because he's mostly 40s now. Because a lot of sharp people will bet him, and I love an 80 is incredible. I know Ron got a 66. He checks all the boxes, as Geoff said. There's enough length there. Accuracy is great. Bogey avoidance, all the things that we want this week. I think he is popping, playing some really good golf. I got, as mentioned earlier, Cam Young at 70. I got Homa at 66, which is long gone in the marketplace. And those are my longest. I bet Aaron Wise at 100. It's not an official play.
Obviously.
You're allowed.
Yeah, it's 70 everywhere else. It's 70.
It's a tax. It's just a tax at this point. You need to keep paying.
I can't not have the ticket.
You don't want the IRS coming after you.
And like you're emboldened by Memorial. Like that's
Absolutely.
Memorial.
Yeah.
That's a
nothing
cool
statistically.
Memorial. Like
he still pops in my numbers, Ryan. I'm just not betting him because I'm not a lunatic.
Right.
It's funny. I talked to Cal. I said right off the bat when I looked at my numbers, I'm like, damn it, I really do like him. And he said, hey, that's not going to be a hot take. And I'm like, well, I know, like everybody's going to like him, but I did find a 50 this morning in the offshores. So nice. I bet some Sung J M at 50 to 1. I think that's probably going to be my second longest number if I do add Mito. And if I don't, it will be my longest number.
And I have to say, so I'm also there, but again, things have changed. I bet Berger 365 last week. They threw up an 80 for a bit on the weekend. So I have a 60 to 1, 80 to 1 split on Berger that I'm in on. Those are my biggest, at least longest odds. M's a bigger bet for me. But as I kind of said to you, I wish I had this thought earlier in last week, but or I guess the Memorial week. But as that week came on and I gave for my blurb, I gave Berger on the simple notion that he played the Schwab the week before, and you're starting to feel that if he's healthy, these betting numbers are based off a guy, his stats when he wasn't healthy. And then he played Memorial, and the fact that he played Memorial off the Schwab, to me, like I just look at that. Okay, he's healthy. The U.S. Open's in 2 weeks. This means Berger's healthy. He has a great Memorial. I don't know. I forgot that I've sucked Andy into Berger before. I feel bad. That's a losing train, but I am able to compartmentalize Berger's like stats from when he's healthy early at the season and when I think he's healthy again now, and ignore the other stuff. You're supposed to compartmentalize when you do outright golf betting. I'll stop using a word I can't pronounce, but that's just the mental midgetry of me that I think Berger's ready.
I have a card full of guys that I love to bet. I love to bet Daniel Berger. I got Berger last week at 50, which is, I thought, still a great number. I wish I had an 80, but a 50 I think is still a good number on him. It looks like some other books have, like Superbook's got a 60. For the most part, a lot of other domestics though have him down in the.
There's the
40 range.
66 still on Bet365 on a boost that's still hanging as we record. Me looking down at my phone is wanting to see who they are boosting today, but they haven't updated yet. But they got a burger boost to 66 at the moment.
Love that. Yep.
Question from the chat brings me to my next bet. Yes, I bet Jocko. There's plenty of 40s out there. Niemann checked a lot of boxes for me. Maybe I should just bet the Chilean brothers so I have the full package. But found a 40 this morning. He's won an event now. I mean, he has win equity. It's not, some of these guys that
he won a big boy event too. He won.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and he's long. He profiles.
It's not like he won the Barracuda.
He profiles for me. He's kind of does a lot of what I'm looking for. You do worry. There's a lot of talk that guys like Niemann and Willie might pay a bit heavier price this week, like in the rough, than maybe they did at some of the other big events, which is a concern. But I'm swimming around Yoke at the moment because I'm such a big fan. If I don't bet him, he's literally going to be the guy, Andy, who's like the first man off and the guy who would make me the saddest from a monetary standpoint. Because first man off is like the kick in the nuts. It almost gets to the point where, as much as like you love your friends who could win, I sometimes need to like you catch yourself cheering against your first man off because those are not fun sleeps. Those are not fun sleeps. But I absolutely love Niemann this week.
He profiled.
Though I'm back on Finau in this range, friends. When I bet, you can almost call that like I'm just willing to lose money to be a part of a legacy moment. But what are the results here? Second,
more expensive Aaron Wise is what that is.
Pardon?
It's a more expensive. Aaron Wise.
Yes, it's a little more expensive because we're in like that 50 range, not 100. But what his last, second, fourth, second, like the ball striking can just catch in fuego.
Yep.
You just see the career arc around the green it's not Magic Men, but like there's enough. He can make enough things happen. And I know it's weird to say, but it's kind of gotten at the point where like you're counting on like his ability to like hit a 40-footer to offset the 5-footer because he does it on every single week. I bet him a lot. So I track these things where you're like, oh my God, he hit it. It says he hit it. I hope they're not lying. Because you can't believe he actually hit
moment in golf than that when the shot tracker said something good and it turned out to be a mistake. Or
on 11, they told me he was 9 feet for eagle. He ended up being 29 yards in the rough. Okay, that's not an eagle putt, and he didn't even make birdie.
Shot tracker can break your heart if you're not watching.
You want to be ahead, like you want to be ahead of the broadcast, but at the same time, it's card subject to change. Like on old wrestling cards. So
he is expensive.
You think like I have the willpower, like your Aaron Wise, to resist second, fourth, second, a decent PGA championship, Canada, Mexico, like unconscious ball striking. And guess what? If this week's horrible, I just hope it sets up a big number, a nice number in the summer for Finau. Because how can it not be a summer of? Like I'm going to lose a lot of money.
It's a win-win for you, Geoff. Either he wins or he loses spectacularly. And either way, it's a good thing down the road for you.
Like,
and if I were betting Finau,
I'll be an apologist on like a future show being like, no, I'm ignoring the US Open stats. Like, look at those pre-US Open stats.
Yeah.
It's a summer of, guys. It's a summer of Tony. Don't worry. So I am there. And those are the bets that I have made. And I could jump into the 20s, and there's boring guys that never win that people think are losers that like are beaconing on me. But who else do you have in this range?
So I have Holman Burgers I mentioned, and then in the 35 to 40 range, I have a winner and a guy that we can't stay off of. I got Burnsy at 40. just again, we love Burns. This is a pro Burns group, and Zalatoris at 35 because there's just can't not have Zalatoris. Like 5 of his last 7 events, he's T8 or better. 5 of his last 7 majors, he's T8 or better. Like it's there. We've talked about it so much. If you watch the show at all, Jeff's made a great point. Yeah, he's never won, but like, what would we give a Sanderson Farms or John Deere more credit than what he's done at these massive? Again, we changed the FanDuel logo to represent our boy. Like it's just there. We have to, again, we're pot committed at this point. This is very similar. This is, again, more expensive Aaron Wise. We have to be there, and he checks all the boxes every week in major championship golf.
I don't think 35 is even in the strongest field in the world. I'm silly enough to think 35 isn't even unfair. Like, because I think he's a top 12 golfer on planet Earth, despite never winning a golf tournament. Yeah. So he's going to break our hearts, but he's also going to birdie like the second hardest hole on the course. And he's going to like gain 2 strokes on the field on 1 hole. And that's the sort of shit I'm betting on. Niemann does that shit too.
Yeah.
I love when they do that. Like the hardest hole. No, I'm just 7 feet for birdie.
I'm betting both. Like, again, I don't know what I'm doing I know what I was doing on Sunday. I was drinking bourbon at the track instead of studying for this, but I need to get up earlier. You just, like, the guys that I know I'm going to bet, like, for some reason, I don't know what my brain was broken and said, like, oh, maybe you won't bet Of course you're going to bet Zalatoris. Of course you can get Burns. Those are brand guys at this point. Guys are going to pop high. Guys who've had high success at not only, good events, but tough rounds. They played well, and one of them does have some win equity. So, like, right now, the best number I'm going to find on Burns, probably 30, 32. Same thing with Zal, 30 if I hunt. So sucks I got worse numbers, but yes, I'm betting both of those guys today.
Burns went 65 on the weekend. And like it's not going to be talked about because he just wasn't really in the mix. I haven't bet him yet. Like I mean, 65, and we want form. Like the win equity is there. There's just, it's
the winner.
It's Sam Burns.
Winner. I don't care. Shitty, like you said. I say it all the time. Amazing field, power, like prestige event or muck nothing. Like he just comes to win. I regret not taking 100 to the whole experience is just full of regret for me. At this point with Sam Burns. He hasn't found his way onto my card, but I only say nice things about him all the time. So I'm just mad at myself here, guys. No, there's still time.
Still time.
He
also is part of the PM wave. Again, if you want to, implement, the strategy that I'm talking about, the 30s might become, 35s. If someone goes a little bit lower,
I might end up so overexposed, Ryan. I need to take a Thursday dirt nap, so I'm not looking at any live betting.
It's fair.
Like, if I'm going to live bet, at least make that like start on the weekend with like how pre-tournament exposed I could be. So I'm like debating. Yeah, maybe like a Thursday. Yeah. Honestly, I had this moment, like maybe I'll go see Top Gun Thursday. Just check in to start the tournament Friday. I teach their own.
No, somebody, same guy who asked about Niemann's asking about the, can you bet that any LIV golfer wins US Open? I'm not sure I've seen that prop. I'm guessing somebody will have it up, but I have seen a prop for LIV golfers where, you'll have top Irishman, top Spanish, top South American. They do have markets up right now as who will be the LIV golfer that finishes the highest on the leaderboard. They have markets up for that right now.
Patrick Reed.
I mean, that's just a fun one. Yeah, somebody said Reed was 8-1 in that market when they looked at it, and they were like, "I'm betting that." So,
yeah. Oh wow, 8-1 seems great. Reed would be my pick from that market. Louis also, I maybe would consider both. I don't know how like deep that market goes, because I think I could have some like prop exposure to an Adam Scott this week, like just accuracy. Everyone makes bogeys, he'll make his, but
yeah,
I think Yeah, like top Aussie or T40. Like there's things I'm looking at for Scott because I'm not betting him to win on the way he tweets. He's like, pro live, and you assume he's taking that bag. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess in front of Burns, it's like that Morikawa Spieth, who I think both represent great value. You could blindly bet both and just think the roulette wheels, like it's time for their roulette wheel.
You bet both of those guys?
If I didn't like when I have friends who aren't like golf bettors, they're not betting the Travelers last week. They weren't betting RBC. They're just like the tent pole stuff. I'd be like, I don't know, man. Like you pick like one of those big three, and then Morikawa and Spieth, and that seems like a pretty good little 3-pack you can have. I don't want you're asking me for I'm picking. I need you to know I bet guys who don't win, who I like just want to cheer for. Like I don't want you to sometimes get stuck into my vortex of a major and then like hate my favorite. Like I don't need you hating Daniel Berger because he didn't win the US Open. Like that's my problem, not yours. Yeah, but I and to think that I'm looking at like Xander and Cantley when I could just be looking at Spieth and Morikawa or Burns is insanity. But guys, someone's got to die for other people to live. So when you wonder like who's out there dying on these hills of like betting those two schmucks, I'm the one thinking about it. It's a giant ecosystem like the ocean. Things got to eat other things so the sharks can be kings. Someone out here's got to be making those bets, and it might be me. I want 32 golfers. Like 32 Sanders does everything at an 8.5. This might be the exact time for 8.5 across the board to hit. When I'm always like, you don't do anything good enough. What he does might just be perfect for this place.
Yeah.
that
yells Xander to me too.
I'm anti Morikawa for the most part this summer. Just I'm not seeing it. I don't know if he has I don't know if it's the we joked about DJ. And then he made a joke about how little he spent planning the wedding. And we said maybe he was distracted. Like, I honestly think something is bothering Colin because he's not playing as well as he can, should, and will again. So I'm off him.
Morikawa's never been a form guy. That's the only thing. Like when
that's fair. Yeah, he can just
spikes. Yeah, he's like
So, and if he does that, good because I'm not betting him at this price with my because I do use form as a big part of my modeling. I look for I call it my heat. Looking at my heats and last week obviously it's not like Andy, you're a genius, but like was it JT and Rory were 1 and 3 in my heat, which no shit, JT was high, he just played really well, but a lot of those guys end up high and a couple of them usually end up flaming out. As like Geoff said, golf is super weird and things happen every week, but I think the only guy I bet down low, and again I haven't bet some of these yet, but I think the lowest prices are going to be for me right around that 30 range with it's going to be Fitz, Burns, and Zalatoris. And that might be as low as I go. And I'm looking to probably tuck away a unit worth of betting money to add some live bets during this tournament. I think I don't usually say I'm setting aside some money for that, but I will this time because I will not have, when I go into this tournament, I won't have any of the top 5, 6, 7 favorites. I won't have any Spieth. I won't have any Morikawa. I won't have any Lowry. I won't have any Koepka Hovland, Matsuyama, like big names. And one or two of those guys is going to catch some money for me on Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, I am tempted by the 32 on Morikawa. As he said, FanDuel has that. But I really think I'm going to pick one of Rahm, JT, or Scotty to add to the card. And I don't know because right now shortest is Zal and Burns, like you mentioned, Andy. But I don't know. I like one of those guys. JT is the guy that I always would bet again. Just kind of if I want a full on brand card, if I'm betting at the top of the board, it usually is JT. So I just feel like because of what we've seen at the U.S. Open, what wins here, it has Geoff highlighted at the top. It is kind of a cream rises to the top, upper echelon type of guy in the last handful of years. Since really the Chambers Bay shift where we just start to see an emphasis on driving, full bag stuff. I mean, can Scotty do it again? Is this another year? Like, is this another Scotty event? It's crazy to think that I'm going to chase Scotty at the top of the board.
And to your point, like I'm betting these guys, I extend the card. In a like smart world, you are probably better off like scrapping your Niemanns and Bergers, like scrapping 2 bodies to get one of like Scheffler or one of those guys, even 2.5 bodies, but it's less fun that way. It ends up like you regret it quickly. You're like, how did I not? Like, it was so obvious. Yeah, but Ryan.
I feel like it's valid
like
this week because I have
for the price of one, sort of like.
Because I got a little closing line value, I feel like on the Homas, the Burns, the Zalatoris, where I can, I feel like there's some legit win equity there based off of where the numbers have shifted. I feel like I can mentally justify going a little bit shorter and getting one of those guys. But then you pick the wrong one, and then you're like, I'd so much rather have 2 or 3 more outs because I picked, Scotty and he's drawing dead on Thursday afternoon because he's, in the muck all day. So yeah, it's tough. I don't know what to do with the top. Xander's the guy that statistically pops. He's got a shit ton of backdoor top 10s at US Opens that I think, looks nice on the profile. To Geoff's point, he screams that, 8.5. There's nothing he does like so far above and beyond. He's just really good at everything. He's just it's just so hard to bet 22 on Xander knowing he just doesn't win when I can just spend a little bit more on Rahm or JT or Scotty. So Rory is not a consideration, and I think Geoff really solidified it for me at the top based off of like some of the emotional things. I think that makes sense. So if you happen to have a Rory double, I'll cheer for you. I hope you cash that big old ticket.
Mayo
sold more on that. Yeah, that's sick. So.
And it's funny, I was looking for some props. Somebody asked about the final score to par prediction. I was going to see if someone had the odds up for that yet. I'm sure we'll see that. It's a major. But I went to Bet Online. They have a highest finishing position by a LIV player set at 9.5. LIV players in the top 10 over under 1.5 with a big number to the under.
Yeah.
And then to make the cut. And somebody asked about cut numbers here too. It is 60 in ties, tougher to make the cut here, but still some of those, like he threw out Hideki, Fitzpatrick, Fleetwood. Hideki and Fitzpatrick or Hideki and Fleetwood are going to be minus 200, minus 250. Fitzpatrick's probably minus 350. I don't know if I'd lay any of those. I don't know if you're putting together a big old parlay or something, but I really think Fitzpatrick ends up, like we talk about boring golf and just par golf. Fitzpatrick checks a lot of those boxes for me. That's a big reason he did make the card as well.
DraftKings has that add 300 on any outright bet, which is a nice little addition that I'm taking advantage of.
What's the max bet on that? Like, what'll they take?
I don't think there is a max bet on that.
They just let you. It's up to as much as they'll take anyway.
Yeah.
I've never used one of those boosts. I think of a couple of these. It's like, Circa has it at this price, and so does DraftKings. So I guess maybe DraftKings is getting one of my outrights because I'm going to be boosting her.
Yeah, take the boost advantage.
It's a thing. All right, so he's just in a Survivor PGA contest. I don't know, what do you say? Who he has to make the cut? Hideki, Fitzpatrick, or Fleetwood? It's kind of a fun contest.
I would think Fitz.
I'm going Fitzy.
Fitzpatrick.
Tommy's been really good, Geoff.
Yeah.
No Tommy for you this week?
I like them all to make the cut. I think Hideki is probably. Say that again.
No Fleetwood for you at all this week?
I haven't made the bet yet. I will probably have something.
Finishing position or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll probably bet him to win because I don't know. Pat got me yelling yesterday. I didn't take to that well. But that in of itself reminds me of the whole JT thing. Like, Fleetwood misses an 8-footer, having an incredible round to end Shinnecock. Would have forced the playoff with Brooks. JT misses 2 putts of like 8 to 10 feet coming in and generational. I'm not comparing Fleetwood to JT's talent, just it all goes back to
Thank
like
you.
this game. It's wild. It's amazing. We love it. I don't know what else we were saying. I'll have money on Tommy Fleetwood. I'll have him in all like the few single entries I do as well. Do not kid yourself.
We'll just Noonan for the staff best bets article. We'll just pencil Geoff in for a Fleetwood top 20 2-1.
No, because I don't think that's a best bet. I don't want to bring other people down that like row of, yeah. No, that might be something more with like Answer or Scott, like in the T40 market. I'm looking at potentially as one of my favorite props for the week at the moment. Or honestly, if that LIV Reed prop is out there, I could honestly like re-top LIV. I'm here for. Like I'm here for.
I like that. I like how you treat some of your betting as if you have like a crippling heroin addiction. You're like, I don't want other people to have to live this life with me. Like, don't go down
like
this
the
path.
Chargers aren't like you want to tell me like, oh, Feinberg's betting the Chargers. What does that mean? Feinberg's betting Fleetwood and but like it just gotta take like when I say, oh, Feinberg has money on Fleetwood and Finau, like what does that mean? It means he's got the Chargers -4 and they're gonna lose.
Yeah, it means he was awake, alive, and had access to the internet this week.
Unfortunately, Andy, it looks like they are maxing that bet at $25.
Well,
not great.
What if you have two accounts? That's fitty.
Congratulations to Mrs. Molitor in her DraftKings accounts. Yeah, that's not great. I was gonna say because you can get Scotty's at 14, you can get Scotty at 17.
We'll get a little down then.
You think Rom wins?
Yeah, Rom, like Xander. If I was maybe like forced to like just pick 3 humans, that would be where I think, yeah.
I thought earlier you told me it was Morikawa, Spieth, and someone else.
Finau? Oh, I'm gonna pick Zal because he's not human. That guy looks weird.
No, but Morikawa, Spieth, Burns is like the actual sanest card I think you could make. Like these are a normal, well-adjusted people who don't like fall into biases or traps like that. That I think would be the card.
So
that's fair.
And you go add to that if you wanted, like because it's a major. I don't like they're not.
Throw out the odds because a lot of what we do is betting based on the odds. And again, and I don't give a shit. Just pick the top 3 off the board if you really want. But if you had to just like, hey, you can pick 3 people, and all you're doing is trying to one of those 3 people wins the tournament. Like, are you just picking your top 3? Are you just saying Rory, JT, Scotty? Because Christ, I think I am. Like, I think it's as simple as that. Like, they're all probably priced about where they should be, and that's where I'm not betting them. Like they all have super, super high ceilings, and that's what makes this one tough because there's a lot of guys like that.
Yeah, I'm so torn on Rom, JT, and Scotty. I feel like I'm going to add one. I don't know which one. I'm probably going to do that. Yeah, and then maybe Im. Hopefully, I can get a nice Im number, even though I know I missed on it. I hope I can get something that's decent. But like I've wrestled with this too because it's like I think the guy can win. And I'm going to sit here on the sidelines because I got to take a 40 instead of the 60s that were available. And then he ends up coming home. And then I'm like, well, I didn't get in on it because it was a 40 instead of a 60. And then I feel like the biggest moron possible. So, there definitely will be an M bet before there'll be an M bet at some point. So we'll see.
Get it in.
Andy, what's going on at the site? Do we have anything that we want to share, promote, giveaways? Any other?
We will have a giveaway later this week. Look for some tweets. Geoff just kind of tipped it off on what it's going to be by what he just did. And we'll have a new tool very, very soon. We're just working on some of the mapping. It's going to be a pretty nice research tool over on the site. And yeah, with that, check out the newsletter. That'll be out late Tuesday, early Wednesday. You can subscribe for that over at betspurtsgolf.com. Check out our Twitter for some more content, more videos, more info. And yeah, just hit us up in the Discord too. It's a lot of fun chatting with people in the Discord, especially now that we're doing a shitload of Prize Picks and Underdog. That's over on the 4for4 Discord, which is another one that's, there's a bunch of free chats over there if you want to just chop it up and talk about who you like for some Prize Picks. That's a lot of fun especially if you don't have legal betting markets and you don't F around with some of the locals in the offshores. It's in some of those states, and even the people who do have that, I can't go to my sportsbook and bet on greens and regulation for the round. It is fun that you can get in some different markets with that. So I'll be getting into that this weekend. For any of those links, check out our Twitter @BetspertsGolf.
Love it. Thanks as always, fellas. This is going to be a fun one as always. So hopefully we can take home a winner. So for Geoff and Andy, I'm Ryan. We'll see you all very soon.
I'm just going to change the thing to Zal. He's the winner. See you guys.